Have you ever pondered what critical thinking is and why it matters so much? Well, let's dive in. Critical thinking is like a mental multi-tool, a cognitive Swiss Army knife, if you will, that equips us to navigate through the labyrinth of life's decisions. It's the ability to think clearly and rationally, to understand the logical connection between ideas, and to weed out misinformation. It empowers us to evaluate arguments, recognize fallacies, and arrive at well-reasoned conclusions. But why does it matter? Imagine steering a ship without a compass, or trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. That's what life can feel like without critical thinking. It is an anchor in a sea of information and a guiding star in the night sky of decision-making. It's a skill that touches every aspect of our lives, from personal decisions to professional choices. So stick around if you want to discover how to improve this crucial skill. Let's dive deeper into understanding critical thinking. So what does it mean to think critically? At its core, critical thinking is a cognitive process that requires active engagement and interaction with information. It's not just about absorbing information passively, but actively questioning, analyzing, and evaluating it. Imagine you're presented with a piece of information, an argument, or a claim. The first step in critical thinking is to evaluate that information. This involves asking questions such as, is this information reliable? Is it supported by evidence? Is the source trustworthy? This process of questioning helps to ensure that the information we accept is not only accurate but also valid and credible. Next, we move to identifying the arguments. Every piece of information or claim usually comes with an underlying argument. Identifying this argument involves understanding the main point being made and the premises supporting it. This is crucial as it allows us to assess the strength of the argument and to identify any potential weaknesses or gaps. Recognizing fallacies is another key element of critical thinking. Fallacies are errors or flaws in reasoning that can lead to false conclusions. They can be tricky to spot, as they often seem plausible on the surface. However, being able to identify fallacies can help us avoid being swayed by misleading arguments. Finally, drawing conclusions is the culmination of the critical thinking process. After we have evaluated the information, identified the arguments, and recognized any fallacies, we need to draw a conclusion. This conclusion should be based on our analysis and should be logical, coherent, and well-reasoned. So, in essence, critical thinking is a skill that helps us make informed and rational decisions. It's a process that involves active engagement with information, thorough analysis, and logical reasoning. And it's a skill that we can all benefit from developing. Because in a world filled with information, being able to think critically is more important than ever. Now that you know what critical thinking is, why do you think it's important? Let's delve into that. Critical thinking is essential in all aspects of our lives. It's like a mental Swiss Army knife, always handy and equipped with the right tool for every situation. Consider decision-making, for instance. Every day, we're faced with a barrage of decisions, from the mundane like what to have for breakfast to more complex ones like career choices or financial investments. With critical thinking, we don't just choose randomly or on a whim. We carefully evaluate the options, weigh the pros and cons, consider the consequences, and make informed decisions. It's the difference between shooting in the dark and taking a well-aimed shot. Misinformation is another beast that critical thinking helps us tackle. In the age of social media where anyone can be a publisher, false information can spread like wildfire. But with critical thinking, we become more discerning consumers of information. We scrutinize the source, investigate the evidence, identify any potential bias, and decide whether the information is credible or not. In short, we become less susceptible to fallacies and deception. Critical thinking also helps us to evaluate different perspectives. In a world brimming with diverse cultures, ideologies, and beliefs, understanding each other can be a challenge. But critical thinking provides us with a framework to evaluate these different perspectives, to understand their merits, and to reconcile them with our own views. It's like a bridge that connects us to others, fostering understanding and empathy. Lastly, critical thinking is a powerful problem-solving tool. It allows us to dissect problems, analyze their components, identify patterns, devise solutions, and predict outcomes. It's like being a detective, sifting through the clues, piecing together the puzzle, and finally solving the case. So the ability to think critically is not just important, but essential in our complex world. It empowers us to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and finesse. It's a skill that's not just useful but indispensable in our quest for knowledge, understanding, and progress. So, you're probably wondering, how can you improve your critical thinking skills? Well, let's delve into that, shall we? First and foremost, you need to learn about the basic skills of critical thinking. This involves understanding how to identify and evaluate arguments, how to spot and steer clear of common fallacies, and how to draw sound conclusions. To do this, you can take advantage of the myriad of resources available. There are countless books, articles, and online courses at your disposal that can help you build a strong foundation in critical thinking. Next, it's time to put what you've learned into practice. Try to apply critical thinking in your everyday life. When faced with a decision, ask yourself, what is the evidence? What assumptions am I making? Are there potential biases influencing my judgment? Are there any alternative explanations or solutions I haven't considered? These questions can help you evaluate the situation more thoroughly and make more informed decisions. The third tip is to keep an open mind. Be open to new ideas and perspectives even if they challenge your existing beliefs. Remember, critical thinking is not about being right at all costs. It's about seeking truth and understanding. So don't be afraid to consider new evidence and, if necessary, change your mind. Lastly, but certainly not least, be skeptical. Don't just accept information at face value, especially when it comes from outside sources. Always question the source, scrutinize the evidence, and consider the possibility of bias. This will help you avoid being misled by false information. Now keep in mind, these tips are not a one-size-fits-all solution. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses when it comes to critical thinking. What works for one person may not work for another. That's why it's important to continually reflect on your own thinking and seek ways to improve. Remember, critical thinking is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It's a skill that can always be honed, no matter how proficient you become. The more you practice, the better you'll get. And the better you get, the more effectively you'll be able to navigate the world around you, making better decisions and solving problems more efficiently. So let's recap. To improve your critical thinking skills, you need to learn about the basic skills. Apply them in everyday life. Keep an open mind and be skeptical of outside information. But most importantly, remember that critical thinking is a journey. It's about continual growth and improvement, not about reaching a specific endpoint. And with that said, let's keep the conversation going. What's one way you're planning to improve your critical thinking skills? Let's discuss, learn, and grow together. Remember, improving your critical thinking skills is a journey, not a destination. So let's wrap this up and look at some examples of critical thinking. To summarize, critical thinking is a vital skill that gives us the ability to reason logically and clearly. It's the tool we use to evaluate information, identify arguments, recognize fallacies, and draw sound conclusions. It's the compass that guides us through the wilderness of misinformation and bias, helping us make informed decisions and solve problems effectively. Now let's delve into some examples. The world of literature has provided us with numerous insights into the workings of critical thinking. Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, for instance, breaks down the dual system of human cognition, the fast, intuitive, and emotional system 1, and the slow, deliberate, and logical system 2. It reveals how our quick gut reactions driven by system 1 often lead to biases and errors in judgment. Another enlightening read is The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli, which identifies 99 cognitive biases that can distort our thinking. Meanwhile, Critical Thinking, What It Is and Why It Counts by Richard Paul and Linda Elder provides an in-depth understanding of critical thinking, its importance, and the skills involved. And Carl Sagan, in his book The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, emphasizes the role of science in helping us make sense of the world around us. But literature isn't the only source of inspiration. History has shown us many individuals who have exemplified critical thinking. Socrates, with his method of questioning, taught us to interrogate our beliefs. Galileo Galilei, despite facing opposition, pursued scientific truth. Marie Curie, through her relentless research, advanced our understanding of radioactivity. Martin Luther King Jr., with his powerful rhetoric, challenged societal norms and fought for equality. And Nelson Mandela, through his strategic leadership, brought about significant social change. These examples serve as powerful reminders of the transformative power of critical thinking. They show us that it's not only a tool for personal decision-making, but also a catalyst for societal progress. So, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep thinking critically. Until next time, stay curious.